Shanna here. Welcome to my channel all about finding joy while living with autoimmune disease. I am so glad to have you here. So I am so excited. Today I have my sweetheart with me. This is my husband Blair.
Hi.
So a couple days ago I posted on Instagram a picture of us and just how hard autoimmune disease has been on our marriage, both before in the years prior to my diagnosis. I lived with undiagnosed health symptoms for over a decade prior to my diagnosis. Was diagnosed with Hashimoto's just days prior to our 17-year anniversary. Today we have been married about 18 and a half years. So it's been autoimmune disease, I would say, has been the hardest thing that has rocked our marriage. And so I opened up and I shared about some of the things that have helped us. And I really had such an amazing response. I got DMs and comments and emails. And so I offered to, well, my husband is really open about me sharing, and he's really open about what we've been through, you know, and in hopes that it really helps others. And so he agreed to come on here and answer some of the questions that you guys have. And so I opened up to my Instagram audience, friends, to submit any questions that they want to hear Blair answer. And so that's what we're doing today. He has not heard any of the questions. I have not told him any of the questions. So we're just going for it. We're very casual, just kind of and Blair, he's one of the things I've loved about him all along is he's very like what you see is what you get in real. And so thank you for doing this with us, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Sounds good.
So first question, and again, he has not heard these questions, first time. What advice do you have for husbands that have a wife with autoimmune disease?
Well, that's a tough question. What advice do I have? I think one of the hardest things is learning to just be patient, because I don't understand or I can't feel what you're feeling. And so it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing how I feel or what I'm up to what you're going through. And when you're having a tough day and you need to, you know, get the rest that you need in order to feel better, and I'm feeling great, it's hard to remember to be patient and allow you to get your rest and know that it's okay for me to still go do things that I want to do, because you want me to be happy and you want me to be able to find joy in my life. And if I sulk because you're not feeling well, it doesn't do you or I any good. And that's been one of the real challenges, because I'm a pleaser. I want to please you, and when I know you're not feeling well, I just want to sit around and take care of you. And over time it becomes, you know, over time it's hard to remember that I'm important too. And so I think that one piece of advice I would give is just be patient, and then also remember to take care of yourself, as far as, you know, I need to take care of myself and do things that are good for me, because you want me to be happy also.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And just a little health history on Blair. He has no health history. He's like perfect health. So like I don't remember any. I mean, he feels great all the time. He's very active. He's athletic. And that's been part of the hard part for us, is that he has no frame of reference. He doesn't understand. And so and I don't understand what it would be like to be in feeling great all the time too. So next question. You ready?
I hope so.
Okay, is it hard to not be able to do the things you used to do with your wife? And then they share, we can't hike, we can't bike, etc.
Absolutely. It's very challenging. I mean, thinking back to, I mean, now it's been years ago, but you know, years ago we used to go to the gym together all the time. We used to work out. It was part of like who we were, was to, I mean, you know, spend time at the gym sweating together and working out and trying to take care of ourselves. And again, going back to what we talked about just the last question, I miss having that time with you. And so again, like when I think things are their hardest is when I start feeling sorry for myself, because I miss that time with you, and I stopped doing those types of things. And you've always been really good at encouraging and challenging me to keep working out, to keep exercising, to not to not like lose that part of me. And it's hard because I feel guilty sometimes doing those things. But as I've realized that you really want me to do those things for myself, not because I'm doing them for you or because I'm doing them for anybody else, like, I feel much better. So yes, it's definitely hard to, there's things that we used to do. I mean, you've talked about in the past too also. I mean, the way that we eat obviously has changed, I mean, drastically. And it wasn't probably 2 years ago that we used to go out to our favorite Mexican restaurant every Friday night and, eat as much chips and salsa and cheese and beans and cherry Coke.
Bring on all the Mexican food.
And when we stopped doing that, I mean, you would even say, hey, we can go and I won't eat. And I would say, no, I don't want to go. That's just not, I just didn't feel right about it. And now I feel better anyway. I don't even crave that stuff. But like, that was really hard to change those habits that we had made, that we thought made us feel good. We thought that, oh man, we just have to get to Miguel's for dinner tonight and go see a movie, and boy, and then we get home and we feel sick anyway. But it's what we did. And so it was hard to change those habits, but I think we've replaced them with other habits. And by making those new habits, you tend to forget about the old ones. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, some of the things that, so we met snowboarding. So I was 15, he was 17 when we met snowboarding, and snowboarding is something that we've loved to do as a couple and as a family. We had our kids snowboarding when they were like so little. And so one of the hardest things was when I was at my rock bottom, or even like the time surrounding that, I struggled walking up the stairs. I struggled getting out of bed. No way in heck could I even make the drive to go snowboarding, let alone snowboarding. And so that was really hard because that's not only something that I found joy in doing, it was very much a part of us and a part of our family. And that is something that we have back now. So I took my daughter snowboarding by myself, actually. I made where we lived at the time in California, it was a 2-hour drive up to go, and I made the drive, snowboarded with her all day, and drove home. And now we live in an area that we get to snowboard a lot, and so we're so excited for that. And so just because you may be at a point today where you can't do all of those things, you can't hike, or you can't bike, or you can't walk around the block without resting. I was there. It's humiliating and hard and painful, and you can't do all of those things that you did as a couple and that you did as a family. It doesn't mean that you won't ever do those things again. Like, as you focus on nutrition, and like what you eat matters, and focus on, mindset and positivity, and try not to compare who you are today to the old you, because comparison really is the thief of joy. And it's been so important for us, I think, to go through the pain of losing who we used to be and who I used to be. And it's okay to feel that pain and to mourn, but not to sit in it. And I think it was important for us to realize that we can rebuild our marriage in a way, and rebuild things that we love to do, and rebuild our lives. And it's not easy. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm saying it's easy or that it's a piece of cake. It's not. And it's okay if you're not there, but keep in mind that it takes a lot of time, but it is possible to live well with autoimmunity, to find joy with autoimmunity. And so I just encourage you to picture yourself healthy and hiking with your man again, or biking with your man again, or snowboarding if that's your jam. Whatever it is that you guys love. Yeah, I still don't hit the gym doing a CrossFit workout with him because that's not something that feels good on my body. It's something that triggers a flare in me at this point. I'm not saying I'll never be able to, but it's been a year and a half and I still can't. But we try to focus on what we can do instead of what we can't do. So next question, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So when she's talking to me, but it's a question about you. So
okay.
When you first started being sick, how did he handle it?
Not very well. I mean, if we're being honest, and I think that's the point here is to be honest. And that's a tough question too. When you first started being sick, I mean, geez, when did you first start being sick? I don't know that we even know the answer to that question, or at least I don't. I mean, it's probably been years, but when I first started realizing that it was getting bad, how did I handle it? Um, Probably fairly immaturely. You, I think people are typically somewhat selfish and they focus on themselves, and maybe you don't want to, but I mean, you're in your own head all day, every day, so if I think back to, and I guess I can give an example of what I mean by that. I mean, I know that there are times when Shannon would tell me that she wasn't feeling well and couldn't do something. And if it would happen every so many days or every so often, my first thought and reaction was that this is an excuse to not have to do something she doesn't want to do. And she's just using this as an excuse to not do it. And, and I'm sure that went on for a long time, and I would have frustrations and probably even hold grudges without really, maybe subconsciously hold a grudge. And so, yeah, I don't think I handled it very well. But also, I think it was a huge blessing when, and I'm sure you've shared this before too, that Shanna started listening to, I think it was Dr. Sarah Ballantyne's something. I don't know what it was.
It's her AIP Lecture Series that she has.
And we were driving in the car on a vacation, and Shannon was listening to it, and I just said, "Oh, just turn it on in the car rather than listening to it through your earphones." And so I listened for, I don't know how long it was, probably a few hours, and all of a sudden, all these things that were being taught and discussed, had some, the word I want to use is validity, some truthfulness to it. And I started realizing that what she was saying and what she was going through wasn't just some made up thing or some excuse to not do something that I wanted to do or that I thought was important, and she just didn't want to do it, but really these symptoms and these challenges that she was going through were real, and that it's not just her, that lots of people are doing it. And just because I didn't understand or I didn't see that or I couldn't feel it, didn't mean it wasn't real. So I guess the question is, how did I handle it? Not very well. I probably held a lot of things in for a long time, and over a fairly short period of time, once the education kind of came along, all of a sudden it made a lot more sense, and I found myself being much more patient and much more understanding, because I now had a frame of reference to see that what you were going through was really actually happening, not just some excuse to get out of doing something that I thought maybe you didn't want to do. And the reality is that that's a fight that I still have today. I mean, there are still times when Shanna says that, that she's felt good, she's felt great for a long period of time, and all of a sudden to me it becomes the new normal. I think that this is normal, this is where we're at now, and then all of a sudden we can't do something, and my initial reaction still is, really? And then I have to come to the realization that I'm being selfish, and that I know that you're really going through something, and I have to be more humble and realize that I'm not the most important thing. You and I are the most important thing. Our family is the most important thing, and you're not doing things to me. That you're going through something, and that's okay, and that it's gonna pass. You're gonna get through it. You're making the right decisions. You're doing the right things to make yourself feel better. And even when those times come, they're much shorter lived than they used to be. And I now know that you're going to get over it, and just to give you some time. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to not react selfishly in the moment.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I will say too that, like I said, I was diagnosed 1.5 years ago. We've been trying to get through this. We've come so far, but it's still, as Blair said, it's still a reality that we live with. I'll go through periods where I feel so well, and then I get sucker punched with the flare, and I don't always know what caused it, and it's hard again. And just as he's saying it's hard for him, it's hard for me to communicate still when I start feeling symptoms, and I have to be like, all right, babe, like, this is where I'm at. You know, I'm fatigued. I look normal on the outside, and that's probably one of the hardest things, is that it's not like he can see, oh, your arm's broken, or oh, your leg's broken, or oh, you look really sick, you need to lay down, babe. Like, it's not like he can see what's going on. And I know that if he could feel what's going on, he would, you know, it'd be so much easier for him to understand. And I think that's where trust comes in too, is that I feel like the hardest part in my mind was that I felt like he didn't trust me, and I don't think he did for a period of time. And it was just a lot of communication, a lot learning helped, and just experience. And so I would just say to like try to be completely open and honest with each other about the hard things, and you know, even so, I mean, we've been married almost 17 years, and we had an experience where it was the holidays, and we had his family thing going on. I think I've shared this one other time somewhere, but he had a family thing going on. It was like a Christmas, and it was like his family Christmas party, and I felt so sick. I was about at my rock bottom, did not have a diagnosis yet. I knew that morning that I needed to be in bed. Like, I was so sick I could not go, but I knew how important it was to him. I was trying to push through, and I thought I could push through. And I got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this. Like, and I tried to communicate that with him, and he took it the wrong way, and he took it like I didn't want to see his family, which is totally not true. I wanted to be with his family. I wanted to be celebrated. I wanted to be with our family. And so it was at that point that I realized how much our trust had been broken because of, you know, and like, I tried to hide how sick I was for years because I couldn't get answers, and I had a doctor telling me I was fine. And so I would try to hide how much I would have to rest, and I'd try to jump out of bed when he'd get home from work because I didn't want him to find me resting again. And so it's a process. Just be patient with, you know, with your man. Hopefully he's being patient with you, and, you know, communicate, and it's just hard, and it just takes time. All right, guys, so we still have quite a few more questions. We only have time for one more today, but Blair's agreed to come back and do this again so that he can answer all of your other questions. So we'll do this at least in 2 parts, if not in 3 parts, so that we can get to all of your questions. All right, are you ready for the last one today?
I'm ready.
All right. So this one, trying to open this up. Okay. So last question for today. This is personal, so feel free to ignore.
Okay.
How did he feel when you weren't able to be intimate?
I mean, again, I felt, you know, I think it goes back to the same thing we were just discussing. It goes back to trying to understand. The question is, how did I feel?
How did you feel?
How did I feel? I felt unwanted. I felt undesirable. I felt a lot of negative things about myself. And again, like, it goes back to not understanding, because as I was able to understand more of what you were going through, and not that I could feel what you were going through, but I could understand from, you know, the words that we were listening to or reading and studying together. Then it became more evident that, again, it wasn't about me. It wasn't because of me. It wasn't me. It wasn't anything about you not loving me or not wanting to be with me. It was, you just didn't feel well. And I think if I was to sit and say, you know, do I feel like being intimate when I had the flu? You know, no, I want to lay in bed and I want to curl up in the covers and I want to sleep for hours and be left alone. And if you compare, if I was to compare myself having the flu to how you're feeling, or how you were feeling, or how you are feeling, or whatever the time frame may be, then it becomes a lot more understandable. Like, oh, well, if she's feeling the way that I feel when I have the flu or a severe cold or any other ailment that makes you just want to curl up in bed, well, then it's not about me. It's not something that's wrong with me or with us. You just don't feel good. And again, I think the biggest and the hardest part about that is, I mean, one, I have a beautiful wife. She's beautiful, isn't she? And, you know, I come home and I see her and she looks beautiful and healthy and strong. And so in my mind, she is like all that. She's beautiful, she's strong, she can do anything that she wants to do. And when I don't feel like then when I don't feel like she wants to be with me, it all becomes about me again. It's about, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure I can exactly verbalize what I'm trying to say because it's more of an emotional thing than it is like something I can just say. But I think it all boils back down to understanding and trying to find some way of connecting how you're feeling to how I might feel in some other situation, and realizing that, you know, it's not that I'm not desirable. It's not that you don't want to be with me. It's that you're just not feeling well. And I say not feeling well. That's probably an understatement of the century, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Is that you know, being, especially at your rock bottom, and again, there's a lot of, we're talking about maybe the more like physical part of it, and maybe somewhat emotional on my part, but the other part that I can't compare to, because I can say, oh well, if I had the flu, I'd feel this way. But when I had the flu, I know I had the flu for like a day or two. And when you're going through what you're going through, there's an emotional side that I can't understand. I can't compare the emotional side of what you're going through to anything in my life, because I haven't gone through anything like that would allow me to say, oh, well, she's feeling these emotions or she's feeling these. I have to assume that there's insecurities and depression and other emotional things that go along with being sick and not knowing why, or being sick and knowing that you're always that it's never going to go away, that I can't. You're not supposed to do this.
Sorry.
That I can't understand. And so it makes it much more difficult because I can't make that comparison. I can't realize that, well, I'll just try and understand that, you know, it's as if I'm going through this because I'm not going through it, and I haven't. So I don't remember what the original question was, but I think the point is that it's a challenge, and I think a lot of it comes from, I think the solution to me is understanding that my wife loves me. And I'm not always perfect, and I'm gonna have shortfalls. I'm gonna feel things that I don't want to feel or shouldn't feel. And I have to love myself enough to get over that, and to know that, you know, like, don't be hard on myself for feeling that way, for being selfish, but learn how to get over it. And then and just be patient, because I know you love me and I love you. And, you know, if I know those things and I'm patient, then we're going to be okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So much. And just to add a little bit of my perspective too, you know, as much as, you know, he comes home and sees me as all of these things, beautiful, and he loves me and he sees me as strong, you know, for so many years, and especially at my rock bottom, I felt anything but those things inside. I felt broken, and I felt undesirable, and I still, though those are still my first reaction in a flare too. And so not only, as he said, is it a physical thing, you know, I feel so unwell, like intimacy is like the last thing on my mind. I'm just trying to keep breathing and put one foot in front of the other, but I feel on a level inside at my rock bottom, just torn apart and devastated. And that's something that has and as he said, depression, anxiety, all of those like emotional side of it, that was very, very real. I mean, he saw me have panic attacks that I had never experienced before, where we won't get into that right now. And so intimacy was the last thing on my mind for a while, and it was particularly hard for us because his love language is physical touch. That's like, and so, and another level to it where my hormones were all out of whack too, and so, you know, I didn't have a desire for that either, and so in time, that's come back. But I will say that it's really, as much as I felt better over a year now, with just like flares here and there, it's taken a while for my hormones to balance back out. And it's taken, you know, I still eat according to the AIP, the autoimmune protocol. I have re-entered some foods, but that's worked wonders with balancing hormones and with getting those feelings of wanting to have that intimacy back. And so even when that wasn't back, you know, I did understand that that's something that he needed. And as I did feel well enough, like, I made that a priority, and just like physical touch and doing date nights when we could, and snuggling and communicating and just all kinds of things. So thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Blair, for being here. He said he'd come back and answer more of your questions. So I publish new videos every Thursday. We will be back next week, and he will answer more of your questions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment. Let us know what's helped you in your relationship, in your marriage, as you learn to find joy while living with autoimmunity. I am sending you so much love and support, and hope you guys have an awesome week.